Rin cuts me off before I can answer her question, or skirt around it somehow. I don't know which I would have done. I froze in front of this issue again. I haven't even told anyone here about my condition, or maybe it's only because it hasn't really come up. I do get the feeling that not making issues of this is part of the social code here, as the teacher said. I wonder if the people here could relate. Probably not any better than any normal person could. I can't relate to Shizune's circumstances, or Lily's either. Naturally, while I go through this in my head, Rin keeps considering what my condition could be, with an overly contemplative look on her face. She puts her fork between her lips and leans back, looking at the ceiling as if the answer was written up there. A beam of light illuminates her face from the window side, creating a mask of dark shadow on the other side. I don't think it's anything in your head, and something in your guts would be boringly ordinary, like this lunch of mine, and less delicious. The problem must be in your pants. This messed up Sherlock Holmes kind of statement and the sheer lack of tact it was delivered with catches me completely off guard. I think I might have reeled back even physically as Rin's eyes widen in revelation and astonishment. So I was right. There's something wrong with your tackle, isn't there? Still partially in shock, but recognizing the need to reply something, I spit out the first thing that I can think of. No, nothing like that. I have a heart problem, arrhythmia. I said it. More like blurted out, but I said it. The girl in front of me purses her lips together and glowers at me, looking very disappointed. How boring. Trouble in the pants would have been much more scandalous. What's with this reaction? I'm sorry to let you down? I forgive you. Just, I collect people and a person with, that kind of problem would have been really great. Collect people? People with different problems. Huh, so you just, go around asking people what's wrong with them? Pretty much. I see. With little left to say, Rin resumes her lunch and the conversation dies away, but I keep thinking about what was said. It's the first time I told anyone else about my condition. All the other people have either known about it already, or heard about it from someone else, or didn't need to know about it, like every other student here so far. Should I have told it as a natural part of introductions? Is it expected of me? Hi, I'm Hisao Nakai. I have a very serious heart condition. Yeah, right. Is that how I'm supposed to go around introducing myself from now on? As if our disabilities would define us? What a disgusting thought. Or maybe this Tezuka girl just has an unnatural interest in such things. As I walk to the back of the room to pick up the items on Misha's list, a chance opens to study Rin from the corner of my eye. Her hair is a burnt auburn, almost orange and cropped short. Long hair would probably be impossible with no arms. Rin would probably look really nice with long hair. The boy's uniform and the lack of arms makes her body look thin, almost scrawny. She is not particularly pretty except for her murky green eyes, which flicker restlessly from below her short bangs, even when she eats. The distance and the shadows make it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorb it within them like deep wells. Maybe Hisao doesn't think so, but I find Rin beautiful in a different sort of way. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would use their arms. However, I can see how this sight could discomfort people, especially while eating. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? I keep searching the cabins and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable. I try to force some conversation out of this strange girl. So, do you always eat alone, and this late, or do you get the occasional visitor? Visitors. Maybe you are my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof, if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. Oh. And that's all I can think to say. Both of us fall silent again as Rin forks the last bits of her meal to her mouth. I look down in my haul and double check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice for you. Don't feel obligated to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you were going to do with that stuff anyway, correct? Or perhaps you like to watch girls sleeping? I'll be honest, I'd watch you sleeping, Rin. Okay, let's move on. I'm not sure what to make of this, but Rin looks serious. Even if I did, I have to get going. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Rin. I feel that our relationship is at this point good enough to warrant this much. I was already turning to make my exit, but she draws me back in. Fine, then I'm Hisao. Then you are. Rin looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It's like she's actually not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple of times, and I can't figure out why a pause like this just popped between us out of nowhere. See you later, Hisao. There's something like a tiny smile there in her face, maybe. I quietly back out of the room. As I shut the door in front of my face, I whisper to myself, what an intriguing person. From inside I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that. What did she hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Somehow she had gotten to jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminded me of Kenji's nutty theory about a global feminist conspiracy, but I pushed that thought aside. Shizune stands slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention. Misha is visibly excited. No, wait, more importantly, who's in there? There's no club meeting today. She tries to curiously peek past me even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. Misha has X-ray vision, didn't you know, Hisao? What are you doing? You took so long that we had to come check what's wrong. That's no good, Hachan. She wraps her fingers at me scoldingly. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you were tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the things here. Was just going to bring them. I think you were up to some mischief, Hachan. Who was in there with you, I wonder? Misha sighs something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door into the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is expecting. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin frozen in place, apart from the slight but noticeable trembling of her shoulders from suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slams the door shut, turning to sign furiously at Misha. Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Rin is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello. Rin's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with a half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello. Miss Tezuka, what do you think you are doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such disgraceful activity. It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy about this turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Shizune, Misha's scolding, so that they have no choice but to drop the issue. Shizune taps Misha's shoulder, points her in and makes some quick signs. Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. Anyway, how's your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure of Shizune's cold stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. And we'll think about it harder. As Misha signs her reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. Rin nods assertively. We'll think more seriously. Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't, not even after the translation. She just shakes her head, takes the materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. End of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to unforeseen future. I was about to ask what project she has and what are these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? Or two? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks lightly at a huge can of paint that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need to take it? Away. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, me and the paint can following since there's a little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty now with Shizune and Misha gone, so we two leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to the other, because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Ren strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching, or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin.
Ah, Mr. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tezuka too, of course.
He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me because obviously it's me who he had some business with.
There's something I forgot to mention on Monday.
I nod and wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either.
It's about your medications. Since you haven't been that long on your current medications, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosages or even changing to another medication. So, we shall begin a few tests regularly, but what I'd want is for you to keep an eye on everything in your condition if you're off. If you get what I mean. Nausea, headache, or anything, and come to see me if something happens.
Alright.
Sure, how are you? Everything okay?
I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway.
That's good. Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you've been in neither the school track nor even the pool. So I'd like to know if you have taken up exercising as I asked.
Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day. Random headache. You have people spying on me?
Not as much. I just happen to know a few people who know some people. And they say you got a small dick, boy. But that's not the issue here. So don't try to slip out of it.
Well, I was actually just doing some improvised weightlifting as exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times, like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone.
Tezuka, would you give me a second while I beat this little prick's ass?
The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside.
When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still on your first week and all, but please do not ignore the importance of your small penis. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is because you can't come down hard on anybody. And habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it will be. It's the same with everything like dieting. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on?
I guess. Yeah, I promise. Definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling again.
Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably had no qualms offering consultation if you want to jog a bit.
Consultation?
See you around, bitch boy.
He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer. And I walk to Rin, who has been waiting idly, leaning against the hallway wall and staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off of them. Are you getting medications for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out on her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's not her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder quizzically, her head tilted like a bird's. I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like there is some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're for my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. They just make me a little less worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer, and she neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all of this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted any feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building, and Rin leads us onwards towards the dorm. We stop at a small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on a slightly elevated ground, with a wall and a few trees that everyone has to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design in the school. The entire wall, made of the same kind of bricks as the building itself, has been covered with some sort of a painting. Most of it is mere sketches, quick lines drawn with black and white against the gray plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground beside the wall. I'm actually going to take a break for now, and continue later today most likely. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.